There is one thing you can do for your children that will help their chances of succeeding at school. One thing above everything else. This time of year, your child will be back at school and they will be bombarded with different projects and homework and things that they can do. But there is one single thing that is far more important than all the rest of them. My name is Kate Cunningham. I was a teacher for 10 years. I trained in child development. I have children myself, and I now write children's books. I want to talk to you about reading with your child. It's really, really easy when you get a big pile of homework at the weekend to look at the easy hits, look at the things that would be quick to get out of the way, and to leave the reading to one side. But in fact, I probably shouldn't say this, but if you ditched the rest and just did the reading, you would be really helping your child more than with any of the other things that you have to do with them. Now, I'm not just saying that because I like books myself. There are decades of evidence, long-term, large studies that show that this is right. And I'm going to give you 5 pieces of evidence to prove that to you. In future videos, I'm going to talk to you about the nuts and bolts of finding the time, the books, how to do that reading with your children. But I really want to emphasize to you the evidence that shows that this is worth your time and a really important thing to do. So, number 1, in 2003, a report was published that had covered a whopping 10,000 children over many years, and they'd studied these children. Half of them had had a lot of really good quality reading support, and they looked at brain scans of the children at the beginning of the study and at the end when they became teenagers. They asked them questions. They followed their school and how they did at school. And they overwhelmingly discovered that the children that had reading support, their brains developed. They made connections between different parts of their brain that helped their language. It had positive, measurable, significant impact on these children. And on top of that, they weren't just more intellectually capable, but they did mental health questionnaires with them, and they were also a happier group of children. The second study I want to mention was a study that took place in Britain. It covered 6,000 children, and it covered their progress during their time in school. It found that children that read more did better in tests over the years. Their vocabulary was better. Their reading didn't just necessarily have to cover books. It included reading of newspapers and other materials. Remember, this is children that were born in 1970, so this is when there were a lot more paper-based types of material. The level of reading was improved by the children's reading far more than it was by what their parents did. So it wasn't a case that parents who had high incomes had children who were better readers. It was the reading that had the impact on these children. The third study looked at 17,200 questionnaires of children that had been born in the 1970s, and it looked at them at age 33. These are a group of children that have been looked at and studied since the 1970s. So there is a huge amount of data about their schooling, about their exam results. So at age 33, they were sent questionnaires and asked what they did now, where they had got to in their lives and what their jobs were. And it was found that children that read more when they were young went on and got more professional jobs and more successful jobs. They went more likely to go into higher education, to follow that education through to a higher level. Didn't necessarily relate to their pay. So some highly professional jobs, unfortunately, don't always pay the best, but they had all pursued education and professional training to a higher level. So we're on to number 4, and this is a report that was published by the Department for Education. It was part of a much wider international piece of research. It was slightly interrupted by COVID-19, but it was completed and published in 2024. And it looked at 4,150 children. It looked at 10-year-olds and their test scores in school, and it looked at questionnaires that the children had filled out, their teachers and head teachers. One of its main conclusions was that children who had access to books and read more were more confident and more successful readers. It possibly sounds a little obvious that you're going to need to have books to be able to be a good reader, but this is talking about the actual evidence. It's not just a case of going, I feel that this would be the case. It's the actual evidence that you can look at and see proves that it's not just a gut feeling. The last report that I'm going to mention is a report from 2015. It looked at children under 10 and then compared them to their results when they were 16 years old. So it looked at 3,583 children, and it looked at their results in maths and their vocabulary. It then followed them and saw how much reading and what they felt about reading. And at 16, they looked at the results again and found that reading for pleasure, having enjoyable reading experiences, had more impact on both their vocabulary, which is perhaps an obvious one, that if you read a lot, you're going to get a lot of interesting words, but it also had a significant effect on their maths results, not as much as their vocabulary, but still significant. It was more impactful to read than it was to do other activities, such as playing musical instruments. 5 studies show us again and again is that reading has a big impact on the future success of children. It affects their success in their level of vocabulary, in their maths, in their further education, in their job prospects. It is more successful than other activities, though what the nuance of some of those studies showed is that reading and another activity had a bigger impact, but reading had to be part of that package. It had more impact than their parents' education and their parents' income and situation, and the access to books and the books that they enjoy, that the children enjoy, was a really key and important part of getting children to read and to be successful readers. Now, it's very easy to say, make your child read more. But the key to this isn't just about reading, it is about enjoying reading. It's about wanting to read and being an independent reader who looks for reading opportunities. And as any parent can tell you, that's not a very easy part of this puzzle. In the next video, I'm going to talk about reading for pleasure. I'm going to talk about what it means, about how you go about finding things that your child will find pleasurable, because what your child finds pleasurable will not be the same as what you find pleasurable, or their teachers or their friends. It's up to them, and it's about their particular interests. And getting that bit right is really important if you're going to encourage your child to want to read. So videos beyond that will cover things like timing and how you get books, but the next one is about reading for pleasure. I am producing these videos and bringing them out every Wednesday. I am doing a blog on Wednesday on my Substack, on the Reading Riddle Substack, and we'll put a summary of each week's topic on the Reading Riddle website so that you can download that. So hopefully, one way or another, you will find these videos accessible, this material accessible, and you will be able to get involved in making your child a happy and successful reader.